Welcome to the first episode of the 2014 NCAA College Football Channel. My name is Aaron Bullitt. I'm excited. I think that this is going to be a great opportunity. Right now, I'm picking up my coach, Malik, right from the game. Before I get started with everything, today's episode, I really wanted to focus on getting the conference together. So that's mostly picking the college football conferences, which there's been a lot of talk this year about the Pac-12, what that's going to look like, the new SEC, the new Big Ten. Is the ACC going to stay together? And, even for these smaller conferences. And right now I'm just sifting through, picking my coach. The year I did a 3-4 defense, which normally I do a 4-3. But now let's focus on the college football alignment. First of all, I want to keep this integrity. I want to make this to where each conference is well balanced, but yet I stay up to date with current Big Ten, ACC, just overall general college football shifts. So right now, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get the Big Ten together. So I'm going to go ahead and add Washington, Oregon, just really get the division going. I think USC, UCLA, I think that's one of the best things. Now, that is going to make the Pac-12 a lot harder to do because now I got to figure out, okay, all these Pac-12 schools are in the Big Ten. What does that look like? The level of competition. But like I said, I want to keep it fair. So, again, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. But I had to figure out which schools I had to get rid of. And the biggest thing that I'm fixing is I'm going to take some of the schools that normally don't do well, not because they're not good schools, just because of the level of competition. I'm going to put those teams in the Pac-12. So, for example, right now, I'm big in the Big 12 right now. I'm sorry, the Pac-12, I feel like I said. But right now, I'm focused on getting the Pac-12, those schools. So right now, with the Big 12, I'm going to go ahead and add some schools. For example, I'm going to add Arizona State, Utah, Colorado. And then, I'll substitute some teams, put them somewhere else. But I think the Big 12 is one of the conferences like the Pac-12 that has the biggest change because you got to add in Cincinnati, you got to add in UCF, Houston. So that's been the biggest thing I've really wanted to do is see just biggest thing through gameplay, seeing which teams are going to do great, which team's going to have the opportunity to be one of our top contenders. Because I think, the biggest thing in college football is all about competition. Recruiting as well, but definitely competition in the sense of I just really don't want that. I might be reiterating what I said earlier, but I really just want to have a conference that each team has an opportunity to succeed. So like the SEC, right? I'm going to, and I might be ahead of myself. I'm just thinking as I'm kind of playing and going along. For example, with the Big 12, well, if Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC, well, what teams are the SEC going to give up? Or what teams in the Big 12 do I feel like I want to give up? And even with these independent schools, where am I going to place those guys? I'm thinking right now, I'm just shifting through, for example, Rutgers, right? I want to put them in, let's say, the Big 10, or actually the Pac-12, actually. Right now, I like Houston, all right? I added them to the Big 12. Okay, now the American Conference, Louisville has to go to the ACC. Rutgers, normally they're in the Big 10, but I felt like it'd be easier to put them in the Pac-12 just because, I want those schools like Boston College, maybe a Missouri. I was thinking even putting them in the Pac-12, but, it's just right now I'm focused on the alignments, and then once I get the alignments together, I'm going to then go by conference rivalries and like championship games. This is actually the reason why I love college football. And I know I've had through a lot of my family and friends that be like, you should get a modern system because you could play. But I'm like, I love this. Like, I think that's what's missing in video games in general. Like, I miss when you knew that you could take your college football team that you built and those guys you see that you recruited or that are in the NFL, or seeing just seeing that shift in, like, seeing the progression of a player going from high school to college to the NFL. And even too, I was thinking as I'm kind of talking, I do got to name divisions. So like for the Big 12, what those divisions look like. Now I'm in the ACC, so which this might be a radical move, but I feel confident in this move. I feel like adding Louisville, but I'm thinking about taking out, and hear me. Hold on. Putting Notre Dame in the ACC, and here's why. The reason why I would do that is because I think that Notre Dame, if you look at their schedule traditionally, they play a lot of ACC schools, and just through current modern history, Clemson has just been running away with the division. They've been running away with it, and I would like to add a element of competition to where now the ACC is a little differently, especially on the other division. I think it's the Pacific Atlantic Division, and I feel like that's just one of the better moves. So like right now Notre Dame's number 7. You put them in the ACC, right? That gives Florida State, that gives Clemson a run for their money. Now I know for schools like Louisville, maybe, hey baby, that's my beautiful girlfriend. She always supports me in my dream. Shout out to April. Mwah, mwah. Anyways, that takes a shift in really just seeing what teams can do. So right now, for example, like in this Atlantic Division, Boston College, like I said, put them in the Pac-12. Boston College, outside of, I can't remember the last. I mean, they've had good running backs. I know they had the year with Matt Ryan, Luke Kuechly, they were good, but historically, I think the ACC could survive without Boston College. And that gives a school like Boston College, who has more spurts of success, gives them an opportunity. So right now, for example, in the Atlantic Division, you have Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, NC State, Notre Dame, Syracuse, Wake Forest. That whole division now is pretty even. That Coastal Division is always pretty well stacked with Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami. But just the Atlantic Division, that just gives them more of an incentive. And who knows, just because I put Notre Dame in there, that doesn't mean they're going to be good. That doesn't mean that they're going to run away with it. I just think it adds to that. And plus, why not? I mean, now we're in college football where divisions are everything. Why not, a Notre Dame add their flavor to it? One that's more money, more endorsements, more advertising. But the biggest thing, it adds more legitimacy. Like you're seeing these college football programs focus on the money. That's why the Pac-12 fell through. It's not necessarily tradition. It's not 2010. It's not the 1950s. Now with college football, it's about money. It's about endorsements. It's about vision. It's about, network deals. So I kind of want to do that even with this. I know it's a video game and, it's, some people might be like, this is not even real. But for me, I feel like that's what's so fun is I'm going to enjoy seeing, especially once I get the conferences lined up, I want to see the rivalries. We're going to make videos. We're going to have bowl week, or especially championship week. That's what I'm really looking forward to in this channel, is seeing every year which teams in these new divisions, these new lineups, these new rivalries, conferences, bowl games, like everything's going to shift. And I'm excited to see, especially in that first year, seeing what that looks like, especially that 5-year mark. Because I think giving a team 4 or 5 years after this initial point to see what teams naturally progress. And who knows, I might change some things, especially as college football changes. I want to see, maybe I might take a Conference USA team and put them in the SEC, or I might demote some teams. Right now, I just want to go with the flow, and I think this is just my initial reaction. So right now in the American Conference, I want the American Conference to be like a step below the Power Five. So, there's the Power Five, ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, but the American Conference, the Conference USA, that matters too. Especially for someone like this American Conference. Those are more the largest sum of at-large teams come from there. But you might get a Mountain West team, or you might get a MAC team. So I just think that that's what's going to make this more interesting. Is for example, having Army. Army's traditionally independent. Navy's actually the American, but putting them in the same division, adding more legitimacy, giving Western Kentucky a chance. Hey, there's still UCF, or even Conference USA. UAB, Middle Tennessee, seeing how that will play out. Give these. I want to elevate so certain teams that are, for example, in the Mountain West, like Boise State or San Diego State. Put them in the Pac-12. See what that looks like. See what that does for our college football, and see if that makes the competition better. And I think if I could, and I would love to one day be the commissioner of college football in general, I would definitely push that. I would push, let's elevate. There's teams like South Dakota playing FCS, or Sam Houston State. Give them opportunities. Give teams opportunities to succeed, because this video game is just the BCS, which I was actually watching the Florida Gators documentary last night before I recorded this, and I thought it's crazy how in college football it used to be you couldn't lose more than 2 games, and it's still kind of like that, but it was more definitely of every game matters. Now people are talking about a 8, 12, possibly 16 team, because FCS, I think they do tournaments. So seeing how that works out. And as I'm looking at my screen right now, somewhere like Vanderbilt, for example, they don't do too good in the SEC. So, I'm putting them in the Pac-12, or Vanderbilt, which I can't tell you the last time Vanderbilt was really good, besides the Jay Cutler era. And one thing I really want to emphasize in this channel is I'm all about rivalries. I think rivalries are the biggest part of college football. So when I make these adjustments, I want to make sure that each team has the ability to really just play and compete. So, in the Mountain West Conference right now, like I said, I'm going to scoop up, Boise State. I think Boise State should be in a bigger conference. Or San Diego State, because I think the Pac-12 still needs a Southern California presence. The MAC's fine. MAC's fine. The only thing I did with them is I just put UMass, because I felt I think that might play into my decision of what school I want to go to. I don't want to be the kind of person that picks a team and we dominate the whole division. It's fine and all, but I think it's equally important to let these conferences kind of play out. So Idaho, I'll put them in the Mountain West, or New Mexico State. I think that's reasonable. I think that's good. I think the level of competition. I'm really considering putting Fresno State in the Pac-12, because I think they're one of the better teams in the Mountain West, and I think that would give them a boost. And California, especially losing Oregon, Washington, keeping that West Coast feel. That's just kind of what I'm hoping to do. And one of the biggest things I really want to look at is Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. I think that's going to shake things up radically. I think it's going to make this college football gaming and channel just excellent. And I just want to say again, thank you guys for, coming to the channel, looking at this. This is something I've always wanted to do. It's funny. I used to actually play this game a lot when I was in the Navy. I would probably spend every day an average 2-3 hours a day playing, and I did it for the love, but now I feel like I'm excited to share that, and hopefully I inspire other creators to do so. And especially with this new NCAA that's coming out, I hope they do that. I hope that they can have it to where you can take the new NCAA and transfer it over to the new Madden, because I think that, again, that's just the best part about it, is having that transition. I think it engages you, because college football now is basically the semi-pros, and having that continuity would be great. So now, like, for example, look in the SEC. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to switch some of the conferences around, keep rivalries together. The Pac-12 is shaping out really well. I think it's shaping out well because I think these are teams that could use that extra boost. I know in the game there's a minimum of 4 teams in a conference. So that's just kind of where I'm at, just making sure. I think on average I would like to have 12 teams. I want to make sure at least the major, Power 5, American, Conference USA, Mountain West, MAC, that they have a championship game. But it's competitive because I wouldn't like that. Saying the same. I mean, naturally, if teams win, that's good, but I want it to be even. So, like the Big Ten, right? I know there's so many different teams and personalities, make it to where, I'm not putting all the best teams in one division and all the shitty teams in one division. Like, it's you get a good mix. So the Big 12, for example, looking at them right now, I'm already going to tell you, Texas Tech, I'm definitely taking and putting in the Pac-12. I definitely feel like it's a good thing. I think, with their offense, they have a more of an air raid offense. It'd be great. Plus, hey, bi-coastal. It gives each team an opportunity to play somewhere else, and it gives conferences a national audience for them to expand. I think, let's see. I put Texas Tech. I think it's the only Big 12 team I put in that conference. Let's see. Okay, so right here, that's our what's the Big 12 shaping out to be? That's the Big 10. I'm definitely going to shift Indiana and Purdue because I want them to play each other. Conference USA is looking really good. There's not a lot of rivalries. Independence is UMass. I like that in UMass. I like that because, one, that's a team that doesn't really affect anything, and 2, like, just keeping that organic structure when it comes to the conferences. I think that's my final decision. I think I did pretty well. Sun Belt, want to make sure. Those are lower ranked teams, but that's good. This SEC is packed. Taking out Vanderbilt and taking out Missouri for Texas and Oklahoma. Now the SEC was already lethal, but now it's even more lethal because you have that Southwest. It's like the episode of The Simpsons where Homer's like, "But wait, these are Midwest condiments." I think it's good to have those Southwest fixins to spice up the hot dog of the SEC. Actually, the SEC would be more of a brat with peppers and onions, or maybe a double burger. But still want to add those Southwest condiments to make it a little bit more better, a little bit more, just put some more energy, because now Alabama, Georgia, they have somewhere to compete with. Like, not somewhere to compete with as far as, like, because, I mean, SEC is still good, but you kind of know with a lot of divisions, like, where and who is going to win and where the direction of the conference is going to go. So, and especially now the Big Ten, that's one of the biggest challenges I'm already seeing as I'm scrolling through and kind of make sure everything's copacetic, everything is going through. Is like, now, like, Oregon. Should I put Oregon with Ohio State? Should I put Washington with Michigan? Because, you want to have those rivalries, but you also want to have it to where when they play, because teams play laterally, so like the Atlantic Division will play a coastal team, you want it to be like good. Like, so for example, this year, Louisville's going to play Georgia Tech. I think that's good. I think it's good. I think, being from Louisville, Kentucky myself, Atlanta's only like 6 hours away. And you want to have that. So right now I'm going through the rivalries. Finally, I'm at the actual conference rules. So Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida, Miami, NC State. I try to keep them with a good rival. I don't see, you can use UNC. Now, I do actually need to switch Duke in North Carolina because I know they're in the same division, but I want to keep that as a protected rivalry. So I'm going to switch them out with Wake Forest. I know, like, normally we play them. I could have did Syracuse. I could have put Syracuse, but I feel like Wake Forest is good because now, you have Louisville. Now Notre Dame, Louisville, Clemson, Florida State, NC State are good. And that adds, and I think that would give Wake Forest the good opportunity to succeed. Actually, no, I put Syracuse. Did I put Syracuse? Yeah, I put Syracuse in that division because I think that plays itself out now. So now let's go back. Now, NC State can be rivals with with another team. I thought Wake Forest, Louisville could play. Georgia Tech, no. I think they would be good with Virginia. I think they'd be... Actually, I might do Virginia Tech with them. Yeah, Virginia Tech, 'cause I remember the bowl game where Marcus Vick stepped on Elvis Dumerville's leg. That'd be great. And I didn't know Pitt Notre Dame was a rivalry, so that already... See? That's why I picked them. I picked Notre Dame to be in the ACC because they already have those connections. So let's put Wake Forest with... Virginia. I'd say Virginia. I think that'd be a better fit. But definitely got to get Duke and North Carolina. Even though it's football, I still think that's a great rivalry. I still think that will get the fans and the people going. But yeah, Louisville, Virginia Tech, definitely a good rivalry. NC State and Wake, and who are they going to get? I'm going to do, let's see. Let's give them... Syracuse. I don't know if that's necessarily like the best rivalry, but I think that keeps the main rivalries, and that could establish something new. Who knows? North Carolina, New York. I think that'd be a good rivalry. So that's the new ACC look. I think this is going to be a great division. I think Notre Dame is going to definitely throw a great cog in the machine and keeping them good. I think, now, especially that Atlantic division, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 ranked teams, and then Coastal Division, it's definitely even. I think it's super even where now every year it could be a different team coming out, and I think that'd be really good. Let's see who else I'm trying to look at. Clemson, Georgia Tech. That looks solid. Okay, I just wanted to double check to make sure that was good. I know I was thinking about doing Louisville and Notre Dame because, it's Kentucky, Indiana. That's like a big thing, but I think I'm going to keep them where they're at currently. So now it's the American Conference. So first of all, off rip, I got to put Army and Navy in separate divisions. I think maybe I might do a Western Kentucky Memphis because, Kentucky, Tennessee, and sometimes I'm doing rivalries not necessarily by their rival bit, but in proximity. So with the first division in the American Conference, I'm going to do the American Conference first, which I know it's American Conference and American Division, but since it's American, I can do National and American Conference, kind of like the NFL. But I know it's fun to have an American Division and then an NA division. But I think I couldn't think of anything else besides National. I could have did like American. I think that's fine. I think that's like accurate. I think there's no difference. So right here, ECU and Marshall, it's a rivalry. Keep that. UConn and Temple. I think Philadelphia, Connecticut, pretty easy. All right. Like I said, I had to switch Memphis and Western Kentucky, plus SMU and Navy. That's a rivalry within itself. So I think maybe if I'm thinking about putting those guys in the same division, that'd be a good rivalry. Let's see. Western Kentucky, like I said, Memphis. Yes, sir. Got to double check. That's good. Army, Navy, UCF. I don't know who I would put them as a rival. I think I would try to just see, because I think Temple and Tulane and Tulsa could be close rivals. Who else do I have right here? All right, so now I'm shifting through American Conference once more. Let's see, who else could I put? Which is funny, UConn and UMass, that'd be good, but even then, I don't know. I don't think that'd be a good rivalry. Or put them. I think I'm keeping them in the independent. I think that's where I want them to be. I think that would make the most sense. As I'm shifting through, I think this is good. I think, ECU, Marshall, Western Kentucky, Memphis, Army, Navy. I might switch Tulsa and Tulane because I call it the TT rivalry. Just make something up. I think that's the best part is improvisation. Knowing that you can make something. UCF, I kind of miss them having being in the division because USF is there, but that's fine. Florida, that's going to be hard. Now I do the American Conference. They're kind of the large teams. They can play in any. I don't want to tie them down to a bowl game. Now it's time for the Big 12. This is a big one because Arizona State are going to stay. Baylor, TCU, West Virginia. I don't know. I could rival them with, and I want to keep it really even because Texas is a big part of this division. So you got to make sure that each team can stay on track. And I'm thinking about putting them at so I forgot to mention, I put the American Conference, their championship game is going to be at MetLife Stadium in New York. I think that's dope. The Big 12 game is going to be at the Cowboy Stadium because pew pew, you know what I mean? The Pac-12, I don't know where I'm going to put them. I might put them in Texas. Maybe some people say it would be smarter to put them in California, but there's not a lot of, in this game, a big presence. I think the only other team stadium that we could put them in, I think the Arizona, the Fiesta Bowl stadium, but then that just kind of defeats the purpose of the Fiesta Bowl. To me, it'd be in Arizona, but I think Texas will be smart too, because it's two teams that really have an opportunity to showcase what they can do, because you're only as powerful as your teams in each conference. So Cincinnati, let's see, what's a team that could be in proximity to them? West Virginia, I would do a Kentucky team, but there's no one there. BYU, Utah, great rivalry. Houston, let's see, UCF, just because that's a older old American rivalry. I think that'd be a good addition. Oklahoma State. Now, especially since they don't have Oklahoma, that kind of puts a big damper on that rivalry. But let's see who we can interchange them with. I think we put them. I forgot, who do we put them with? I can't see. We put Oklahoma State with Colorado. Again, old rivalries as far as old Big 12. Now, this is the most interesting part right here. The Big 10 is riddled. I think their whole conference is rivalries. I think that's the best part about, the SEC and the Big 10 is like these are classics. And now Oregon and Washington, for example, they're rivals. That adds a new level of competition. Or UCLA, USC, that adds a new level. So this is the conference I'm probably going to be looking forward to watching the most outside the SEC and possibly the Big 12, just because like the Big 10, it's one, being from Louisville, Kentucky, I watched a lot of Big 12 games. Not Big 12, I'm sorry, the Big 10, which is surprising because, for example, Michigan's one of my favorite teams. I think in college football, that's one of the biggest programs is Michigan and Ohio State. That's like a big thing where I saw that a lot growing up. So, you want to keep Illinois, Northwestern. So that's a Illinois rivalry. These are a lot of interstate rivalries. Indiana, Purdue is another big in-state rivalry. And I think that's going to add to the Big 10. Now, the question for the championship, that's going to be one thing that's going to be interesting to watch. Because, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, those are big Pac-12 teams now in the Big 10. So the Rose Bowl is going to be very interesting. I would like to hope those teams that I put in the Pac-12, they can compete. Like, they could really compete, because that would really be boring to see just the Big Ten demolish. But maybe that would also, on the other side, give the Pac-12 something to shoot for. Hey, give them a reason to push themselves to be higher. And, maybe it might be good. Maybe I'm thinking it's going to be great. Like, I'm not saying I know, because no one knows till the nose knows, if you know what I mean. Just kidding. So there you go. I have it set up because, like I said before, I want Ohio State to have good competition, and I wanted Michigan. I want to keep them pretty even to where, it's not just Ohio State winning the Big Ten every year. Each team has an opportunity to possibly play for a championship, but also know that like it's not going to be easy. So like, for example, could I keep USC with Ohio State? Because those are two big things and two big teams that have really good names, or maybe Michigan, UCLA in the same division. Keeping those teams solid. Minnesota, Penn State. Okay, that's a good rivalry. That's good. As long as they're rivals and as long as they're willing to, it keeps that excitement. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I didn't know Wisconsin and Iowa were rivals. Even then, that's even better. Now that kind of gets it to where teams are really going to want to play and they're really going to push each other. Penn State, Nebraska. That's a good rivalry. Minnesota, I'm going to put them with Michigan State just because, I think it's in close in proximity. And I think that'd be a better rivalry for Nebraska and Penn State to play because I think those are pretty evenly kiltered teams. All right, let's go to Conference USA, which this one's a lot easier. I'm gonna put them in the conference championship game. Is gonna be in, let's see, not Cowboy Stadium, not MetLife, not Soldier Field, Illinois. Soldier Field, Illinois. I think that's pretty. They're USA. They're all centrally. That'd be a good central location for them to play. The only rivalry that I kind of see is possibly being good is, I don't know. I don't know which rivalry would be really good for them. All right, the MAC stays the same. The Mountain West, New Mexico, Mexico, Hawaii, and I think Wyoming are rivals. But aside from that, I think that's the only two rivalries that are important. Now, their conference championship game, I did some thinking about it. Again, I try to keep the conference championship games in geographically relevant places to where, traveling expenses. See, I think of these things. I think, if this were real college football, outside of a game, where would they want to have their conference championship games? I think having it in Colorado, one, Colorado State already plays there, so there's already a presence. And two, I think just like the game at MetLife Stadium, those would be cold games. I'm thinking about making the MetLife Stadium that I'm gonna call it the Ice Bowl because it'll be really cold in New York, and then calling the Mountain West game in Colorado, call that the Mountain Bowl. Yeah. You just give some pizzazz, some excitement to college football. Give the fans, something to root for, and creating that tradition to where, these recruits can know, hey, come play for us. You'll be able to do this. And, the Mountain West, now, I know I didn't necessarily get them. I kind of rearranged them. I still think there's can be some at large bids coming from these smaller divisions. I think that'd be interesting. Who knows? You might see a San Jose State play for the national championship. It's college football. Anything can happen. And teams like, Idaho, I think it's going to be a tough climb, but it gives them the opportunity to improve. And I'd like to see how they come out on top in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe they can compete for a championship. Maybe they can get heavy in junior college and get some of these recruits, but who knows? I think that's kind of the best part. Now, the Pac-12. This is going to be the most interesting division out of all the divisions because it's so many different teams from so many different conferences. The only core teams are Stanford, Oregon State, Cal, and I think I'm missing a team. Cal and I want to say, I forgot what other team. Cal and so it was, I forgot one. But anyways, I forgot to mention the new division names for the Big 12 are the Cowboys and Bandits. I like that. It's kind of like the Big 10. They have leaders and legends. I think that fits their MO, and I think that kind of I would do if I could really go this deep into it. I create flags or create flag. How the NFC, AFC, they have their own I think the NFC is blue and the AFC is red, like Crips and Bloods. I would have flags. Maryland, Boise State. I took out Iowa State. Now, some people might get mad at that. They might say, well, Iowa State is a solid fit for the Big 12. But I think, this would give them an opportunity to exceed their expectations of what, their team can do. Rutgers, which, just like Maryland, I know they've only been in the Big Ten for like 7 years. So, but they haven't had too much moderate success. So I think this would boost them up. So you got Cal Stanford, which is already a good rivalry. Washington State is going to be hard. I gave them San Diego State, but I know they missed Washington. Rutgers, Rutgers, Maryland, that keeps them because they were former teammates of the Big Ten. Ooh, Iowa State, Missouri. There you go. That's a rivalry already. That solidifies them. Texas Tech, I'm going to give them Boston College just to see what that's going to look like. Oregon State, Fresno State, and Vanderbilt, and Boise. So, yeah, these rivalries will be different. They'll be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see how the Pac-12 kind of plays out because, these are all drastically different teams, bi-coastal, bi-conference traditions. So I want to see what that will look like. The SEC is pretty standard. I feel like that's going to be another division. Surprisingly, with Texas and Oklahoma's entrance, I still think the SEC is going to be the SEC. I still think Alabama is definitely the team to beat. I think Georgia is another great team. Texas Tech, they already kind of integrated with them pretty well. But I want to keep those rivalries. For example, Texas Tech and Texas, that's a rivalry, so I'm going to keep them in the same division. I want to keep, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, Oklahoma, Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl, got to keep that going. South Carolina, I'm going to put them with... Actually, no, let me flip this real quick. I got to put Ole Miss and Mississippi State in different divisions because they're big rivals, and I want to keep that. I think it's called the Egg Bowl. I want to keep that pretty straight. So I'm going to give them... I don't know who I'm going to give them. Arkansas. Okay, Texas Tech, Arkansas, that's a good match. Mississippi State and Ole Miss, that's a good rivalry game. So it'd probably be LSU, South Carolina. I don't think that's necessarily a big rivalry, but I think that would be good just for South Carolina. They're just the oddballs out in the divisions, so that way that keeps them solid. And also, too, it's still a big SEC game. South Carolina's no slouch. They're a competitive team, and LSU is also another competitive team. So the SEC is going to be a dogfight. I think every week is going to be a melee. I think it's going to be a fucking a havoc on college football to see how that plays out, because I think they'll have probably outside the Big Ten the most amount of teams in a bowl game. I think that'd be cool. So yeah, so right now this is the ACC. This is what they're looking like. This is what college football is going to be looking like, and who knows? Like I said, each season's going to be different, especially with the landscape of college football changing. I think this will make great video game history, what we're trying to do. Yeah, I decided right here to put Syracuse back with Wake Forest. I think that gives Wake Forest a better shake. I like the way they play, and I think that this would be great for them. I think they could come out of the Coastal Division very, very happy. That's the Big Ten. That's the Big 12 division. That's the American division. The Big Ten, final decision. Conference USA, this is what it's going to look like. Independent team is going to be UMass. MAC not affected. The new Mountain West, the new Pac-12. And what's multiple new levels of change. I think that's going to be exciting. Again, just because, who's going to rise to the top? And can teams like Missouri, who's been in the SEC, or Vanderbilt, will they actually have a winning fucking season? You don't even know. No one even knows. But that's the best part. And it'll be interesting during the, because I know the first season we're going to have, I just want to focus on recruiting. I think records are going to be weird because of the new challenges, but my main focus is always recruiting, and I think that will shape competition in return. I'm going to go ahead and flip Boise State and San Diego State. Again, it's so hard. This division is so hard because you want to keep to where there's ranked opponents, but it's not like overcrowded with people. And let's say go down from the north and south, that switches up a rivalry because I switched those two people up. Texas Tech is going to play. They're going to play. I forgot. I can't see. I don't have my glasses. Oklahoma State's going to play Iowa State. I just want to double check and make sure some of these rivalries are good and they're solid and they're competitive. San Diego State and Fresno State, that's a rivalry. Vandy, Mizzou. So there's just those. I'm just making those final tweaks, those final changes that will make the best decisions for outcomes. I don't know. I'm just so stuck on the Pac-12. I don't know. It's hard. This might actually change over the next couple of seasons. I might start switching divisions. Just right now, I'm thinking about leaving it where it's at. Actually, I'm gonna switch Vanderbilt, Missouri. Yeah, because they got Rutgers, they got Stanford, Fresno State, Iowa State. A lot of states. Boston College. It's only non-state. Yeah, this is gonna change because I'm very interested to see how the Pac-12 is gonna play out. Because it's so many different things and so many different elements. And I wish the Pac-12 would have stayed together. Now that the college football starting a week from now, I just think that as much as I'm excited to see those new teams in the Big Ten, I'm also a person on tradition to a certain extent, to where to be even. Now, I know the Pac-12 and the real college football's had a hard time staying relevant, but in this game, I just want the Pac-12 I still think it's a worthy conference. I still think it's something worth fighting for. And I think it's something that, I want to give those teams opportunities. That's just what this is. It's just a league for the leave of normally unextraordinary men. Normally. But having this and seeing if they can compete with the Big Ten, what the Rose Bowl is going to look like in the future, is going to be great. Again, the Big Ten is going to really, a 6-6 team in the Big Ten is different from a 6-6 team in the SEC, just as far as scheduling wise. And I think for bowl games, it'll be more interesting too. I think it'd be a lot more interesting in the bowl season because you're going to see more cross play be more important. But that's kind of it right now. I'm just kind of making some last minute changes with the gameplay, Heisman, stuff like that. But I'm excited. I think next week we're going to get into more actually picking a team. We're going to get into recruiting. Then once we get that done, redshirting, and the biggest thing is making sure that we have a competitive game. So I just want to say thank you guys for doing this with me. This was really long, really hard, really challenging. But I feel like I'm ready to finally pick a team. And the team I'm ready to pick is UMass. Again, I think that's a team where one that we have the most to gain. We have the ability to build something new. And the best part about this new UMass team is it doesn't affect the conferences. The conferences can organically become better. And I like a challenge. And I feel like recruiting is going to be the biggest part of UMass. Is I think what we can offer to a recruit is coming in, hey, since, the college football landscape has changed so much, you can be able to really play. So thank you guys. See you next time.